Excellent. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of Wellbeing Wednesday. My name is Cynthia Marnie, and I'm here with my colleague Louise Thompson. And we've got our special guest today for episode 11, Tanya Kitto from Western Australia, and we're really looking forward to hearing from her today. And Louise will ask all the hard-hitting questions today. Don't worry, Tanya, they're not hard-hitting at all. So we started Wellbeing Wednesday at the start of lockdown because we thought, we reckon that possibly women in our network and some of the blokes too are going to want to come together and connect. And also Louise and I are both really passionate about wellbeing. And so we thought, well, we've got all these amazing rural, regional and remote women in our network, and we think that there's a lot that everyone can learn from them about wellbeing. And so we've been interviewing women every week from around Australia and getting different perspectives on wellbeing. And we've had every conversation's been amazing. Every conversation's been totally different, and we have learnt so much and had some really powerful conversations. And a big part of that is because we have a group of wonderful participants every week who tune in with us. We've got some people who kind of come in and out, depending on the topic, and we do have a hardcore group of committed, as Louise has dubbed them, our frequent flyers. So welcome to them. And so we're looking forward to another cracking conversation. This webinar is being recorded, and it will be placed on my website afterwards, along with all the other 10 interviews that we've done, so that if you've missed out, you can catch up there. Louise, tell me about yourself.
Okay, firstly about myself. So run my own business, have for 15 years in generally the leadership development space, be it individual, teams or strategy. Used to be in the big corporate world, and love the fact that I have my own office and can lock myself away, and rather than at the moment being face to face with people through the screen, I'm really at home with this now. And Cynthia and I have worked over the years in the wellbeing space in particular, and narrowed that into working with women and having a delightful time just watching women grow with their wellbeing. So it kind of makes it all worthwhile getting up every morning and ensuring that people really look after themselves, especially at the moment. And I used to be a member of Junior Chamber International. I suppose I still am connected. You may, in particular in rural and remote and regional Australia, may have heard of the term JCs. We're always in the community. And I was the Australian president many years ago, and I was a world vice president at one stage. And in my membership, I met this amazing woman, Netta Fra Nielsen, and she connected me to Tanya, who we're meeting today. So that's a bit about me. Cynthia, will you just talk about the dashboard before we start chatting with Tanya?
Yes. So I'm presuming everyone is familiar with Zoom by now. But the most important box for our participants to focus on is if you put your cursor down towards the bottom of the screen, you'll see the chat box. If you can open the chat box will pop up on your right-hand side. And really importantly, down the bottom, you'll see the word to, and we want you to have chosen all panelists and attendees. If you do that, then everybody will see what you have written, and a big part of the fantastic discussion that we generate on Wellbeing Wednesday is through the shared wisdom of our participants, and also the questions that you ask as well. So we've got some questions that we'll ask Tanya, but also we would love you to ask your questions. So put them in the chat box, and that way everyone can see them. If though you want to ask a question a bit more privately, there is the Q&A box as well, and that means that Louise, myself and Tanya will be the only ones to see that. So please get involved in that chat box. Just want to check in, Louise, we've got Louise from Emu Creek, one of our past participants. We've got Sally, one of our past speakers from Tassie, Belle from Adelaide Hills, Amber at Alice Springs, Sarah from Andira, Rachel from Alice Springs. We've got Nosh from Brunswick, good old Brunswick. We love having our urban people here too. Debbie from Warrnambool, Mete, is that right? Meta from Perth. And Sarah says she's looking forward to this. I have the full range in my cupboard, great for diabetics and gluten-free. So that's terrific. Emu Creek, and yes, people everywhere. So, Karen from Beechworth, and Meta says, I've just escaped from the bakery for an hour so I can listen to this. Jeanette from Tambo Upper, Anthea from Viaduct. Anthea, I'm sure I haven't got that right.
As in Viaduct? Have I got that right?
Wongan Hills, Liz from WA, just down the road from Tanya, 350 kilometres. From Balladong country, yes, and Liz is definitely a frequent flyer. So the way that we, as most of you will know, we will have a chat with Tanya. If you just keep sharing your questions, towards the end, we really would love to hear from you what you've taken away from the session today and to hear about any actions that you have. And at the end of the session, we'll stop recording at 2 o'clock, but usually also we do just hang around for a little bit just to have a bit more of a casual chat. So like in the real world, when you go to a workshop and hear a speaker, that you've got the opportunity to hang around after the actual event and do some networking and a bit more of a, you know, how did it all go? That's what we want to create here online as well. So we'll finish officially at 2, but go a little bit over. So Louise, over to you.
Cynthia, and I suppose thinking if we were really in a room and if you have been sitting around for a while, just have a really big stretch first, a big breath of fresh air, and we'll get into it. So Tanya, when we chatted a few weeks ago when we first met, you'd mentioned, I pulled out my notes, so I looked back and you mentioned about that the family farm was back to 1850.
Yeah, so not this particular farm where we farm right now. The family originally came from Cornwall, England to South Australia to Baklava in South Australia, and you know, like landed there, and the family was too big for the land that they had. So one of the sons actually went and became a baker with his uncle. And so from there, he knew he wanted more for his family. And so he had the opportunity to move to WA and, yeah, like become a farmer in WA. So he, with his sons, came over to WA and landed in Cunderdin down south. And yeah, started farming there, grew the land holding. The sons sort of did their own things. And then the next generation came along. There was 2 sons in that generation. One went farming, another was farming for a while, and then he went and did his own thing. And then the next generation is my husband, Robert. So, and moved from Cunderdin up to where we are now, near Geraldton, around the early 80s, I think it was, where they came up here. And then have expanded, have started with one 5,000 acre block, and we are now up to, what have we got, 28,000 acres.
That sounds big. Give me that, or someone in our group, what does that mean as far as, everyone compares it to the MCG here in Melbourne, because I must do this like a, how big that, 28,000?
Well, we've had an expansion in the last couple of years of 8,000 acres. So before that, we had 20,000 acres. And from one end of the farm to the other was 15-ish kilometres. So, but yeah, you know, yeah, I don't know. It's just there, like,
That's big. So when did you come into the scene? How did you land at the farm where you live?
So I was born in Geraldton, which is our closest town, which is an hour away. And
you wouldn't want to forget the bread at the supermarket, would you?
No, or you go without. You know, I grew up in Geraldton, and my dad was working for an earth moving company. And at harvest time, he would be one of the truck drivers to go out to the farms to collect the wheat or the grain and bring back to town, and you know, to deliver it. So it was wheat carting. And I used to love coming with my dad in the truck out to the farms, you know, sitting on the back of the truck as the auger's filling the grain into the truck, and then the truck's moving along, and I'm still sitting up on the top of the trailer and all of that fun stuff. And absolutely loved the space, the quiet, the openness. And by the age of 16, I decided I wanted to marry a farmer and be a farmer's wife. So unbeknownst to me, I am quite a big manifester, and I put something out there and it happens. So I was still at school. I loved accounting. I loved typing, you know, all that office work sort of stuff. But I had to get a job. There was no going to uni for me, no further education. I actually had to get a job. So I think it was about term 3 in year 12, I applied for a job at a farm machinery dealership. Of all places, why a farm machinery dealership? Well, where do you meet a farmer? So I got that job and worked there for a few years. Eyed off this farmer that kept coming in, and yeah, caught up with him at a BNS, and the rest is history. So we've been married for 22 years, and I've been out here for just over that long.
And I assume it's not a quiet household. Are there a few other humans in your household?
Well, it is quiet most of the time because they're at boarding school. But we have 4 children. So they are now 21, 19, nearly 18 and 16. So we had 4 under 5 years. So it was very busy, very full on for quite a while. And then, yeah, once they sort of got to that year 7, our first one actually was year 8 before she went to high school. And high school was always like, okay, high school is boarding school. So I guess for me, that's where everything started going downhill in regards to my health, because I was so dedicated to our kids. I absolutely love being a mum, and I was really good at it. And, you know, like my mum always worked when I was little. So I wanted to be there for my kids. I didn't want to have to work. I wanted to be involved in everything, and I was. And then once they started leaving home to go to boarding school, emptiness syndrome of, you know, like, what's my purpose? What am I here for? They don't need me anymore. So things sort of started going downhill then, but I was not really aware of what was happening.
So fast forward then to, I think, did you mention it's like 5 years ago that you discovered the concern of your health, or more clarity around that?
Well, it's that whole, you know, slap across the face, wake up, here you go. You know, you're not listening to the little hints. Let's make it enough for you that you can't ignore it anymore. So
can I just ask, so what hints were there? What were you ignoring? I bet you everyone here, there's hints there, and when we don't acknowledge it and don't do it, we just, yeah, I'll get round to it.
Just keep going. The first one was like just literally feeling sick. You know, like doing all the driving, because 3 of our kids were at one primary school. Our eldest was at a high school in a different town, and then we were using another town as well for music. So between, you know, and then we were 60 kilometres to the school to the primary school, 100 kilometres to high school, and then there was the music in between. So, you know, easy 1,000 kilometres a week driving from one to the next, meals in the car for the kids, just flat out going. And then I'd get struck down with this feeling sick. And in the middle of the night, I would be vomiting and I couldn't sleep, and I was hot and I was cold and I was in the shower, and it was just like an absolute mess. 2 days later, I'd be up and at it again because I couldn't let my family down. I couldn't let my kids down. I had to feed my kids. I had to feed my family. I had to make sure my husband was right. I had to, you know, keep everything together. I had to be the glue to make sure everything was right. And how I was feeling didn't matter. I was feeling like, it's okay, I'll deal with it later. I don't have time. So that was sort of the first one. And then the next one was vertigo, where I went into, so that was probably a couple of years where I was feeling sick on and off, and it would come and it would stay for a bit, and then it would go for 4 or 5 months, and then it would come back again. And then, yeah, I went into our games room, down on my hands and knees to get something out of the bottom of the cupboard, stood up and fell over again, and I could not get up. And the vertigo was really serious. So I crawled to bed and sort of, yeah. So I can't remember if it was 4 or 6 months of no driving, of not being able to do all of the stuff that I expected myself to do. Nobody else expected any of that of me. It was fully my full expectations of myself, of what I needed to do to be a good mother, a good wife, and to be good enough for everybody else. So, yeah, that was a little bit of a hint. And, yeah, so that was quite a still didn't take notice. Still didn't, you know.
So what pushed you to, right, I've got to take control here?
Crohn's disease. So it was the feeling sick, the vertigo. It wasn't enough because I could get it back up again and I could do it again. I could push all of that stuff down. I could push down the self-talk, the bad, the negative thoughts, all of that. I could push all of that down and I could keep soldiering on because I could keep showing up for everybody else. So 2015, 2013, I decided I wanted to change our diet. I wanted to start to become healthier. I wanted to lose some weight because if I lost some weight, I'd be a bit sexier and my husband would take more notice of me. So, cool, no worries. I started researching food. I started looking into all of this sort of, stuff and really got stuck into it. Made huge changes to our diet, and I lost a lot of swelling and a lot of fluid that I was holding. So, which became, which was the equivalent of about 10 kilos. And I was really happy. And that was over about 2 years, I lost that weight. And then 2015 came and I started feeling a bit not right. Started getting a bit of pain in my stomach. I was turning 40 in 2015. So it was that change of, I'm getting old. But not that I ever really seriously thought about that. It was never a big issue for me. But there's obviously something there in the back of my mind. So I just slowly started going downhill and I was losing more weight. And, this is awesome. I'm losing weight. I'm getting thinner. It's my dream.
Did your husband think you were sexier?
He was busy. This is the biggest thing, is one of the biggest things, is that he was busy. And he was busy with lupins, with researching. He was traveling internationally. He was doing his own thing. And I was not necessarily part of that because I was still connected to the kids and I was still needed by the kids. So I was pulled between these two places of I've got to be here for the kids, but I want to go with him because I want to learn and I want to be part of it. So here I am in the middle. I'm here. I'm missing out on everything that he's doing. And I'm not interested in what he's doing because he's talking to other people and he's doing other stuff and he's not noticing me and he's not loving me. And what do I need to do to be loved more and all of that? And then harvest came of 2015 and yeah, I really was not good. And our son was still at home at that time. So he was year 6. It was our last child at home. And, you know, I'd be cooking up, like really excited about cooking because food's always been a really big thing for me. And I'd be cooking up a really yummy meal and I would sit down and Tom would eat it, our son, said, oh, this is really good, Mum. And I'd go, I can't eat it. I just could not eat anything. And so, you know, I'd put a mouthful in and I would literally run to the toilet because it was just going straight through me. And then, you know, I still wasn't taking enough notice. So one of my knees blew up to the size of about a football. And I couldn't walk. I was on crutches. And it was harvest. And so my husband wasn't home a lot. And then I was doing lunches for workers one morning and he came home and I hobbled over and sat next to him and he goes, what's going on? Oh, I don't know. I've just got this sore knee. You know, I can't walk. I have no energy. I have pain constantly in my abdomen. I don't know what's going on. And he goes, well, I think I need to take you to a doctor. And I went, oh, okay, cool. No worries. So, yeah, so we went to the doctor, had all the tests, had longer than anticipated in hospital because some tests were showing up some funny results and was diagnosed with Crohn's disease eventually. And I went, thank you so much. Fantastic. Awesome. I know what I need to do. I can fix this, and have been on the up and up ever since. So having that diagnosis gave me the strength to take back my power of my control of my own life. Because,
so just for those that don't know, what's the one sentence definition, Tanya, of Crohn's disease?
Crohn's disease is an autoimmune disease that can affect you anywhere from where the food comes in to where food goes out. So it's like having like ulcers somewhere in your digestive tract that your blood sees that as being an imposter, and so it starts to attack your body. So that's why, so I'm on immune suppressants, so my body doesn't attack itself.
So what's been the most significant difference that you have felt since finding out that you've got the disease to now? What's been the biggest excitement, I suppose, that you're, I suppose, a new person?
So the fact that I actually have complete control of my own life and I matter. The fact that I am the most important person in the world and everybody is the most important person in their own world. But I am the most important person in my own world, that if I don't look after me, I can't look after anybody else. It's like that saying of fill your own cup first. But I've got 3 cups to fill. So I fill 3 cups, then overflow to 1 cup, which then overflows to everybody else. So my 3 cups are mind, body, soul. So I can fill 1 cup, no worries at all, with mind for mindfulness. I can fill 1 cup, no worries at all, by itself for body. I can fill 1 cup, no worries at all, for my soul. But unless I point out that I've got 3 cups, I do all or nothing of 1. So I have to make a conscious effort to realize I've got 3 cups that overflow to 1 cup that then overflows to others.
So what would we see you do in a day, Tanya, to fill those 3 cups? I love it. I can see those 3 cups. What would we see you doing?
So it changes. Every single day is different. So I don't have one thing that I have to do every day. one day it may be meditation. One day it may be sitting outside on the ground. One day it may be going out the paddock, reading, bookwork, you know, walking, stretching. And some days there's more of one thing than others, and other days there's more of the other things than the one. So it is a daily checking in with exactly what it is that I need in any moment. So washing dishes, and it's like, oh, hang on, I need to breathe. That's right. And I breathe. Cool. I'll come back to center. Okay, off we go again. So, but it literally, it is not one thing. This is the thing that I've discovered, is that so many people in the mindfulness work that I've done and in the self-care work that I've done, there's so many things. Okay, you organize your morning routine. My routine sometimes is morning, sometimes is lunchtime, sometimes is the afternoon, and sometimes is before I go to bed. It's, for me, it changes, and I can't have that rule and that structure. It has to be this. It is literally, some days all I've got to do is go down and collect the eggs from my chickens, and I have a chat with my chickens, and I go and open up the gate for them, and I go, okay, the world is a better place now.
So, and where does my provincial kitchen fit in? That's, you know, that's when you started telling me about that a few weeks ago, I got very excited because I love baking myself.
So with Robert going away and doing all this research and development on lupins, he's extremely dedicated to bringing lupins to the world as a human consumption food. So it's always been a stock feed in the past, and that's how farmers and industry in general look at it. So it is, lupins are so beneficial for animals, and graziers and people with stock always feed lupins before going to market, because they round up the animals, they you know, just put on so much condition, and they become so much healthier with the lupins in a quick time. So they feed lupins and then off they go again, either then or for mating season, because they're great for the libido. So and Robert has known this for a long time, and so he's been dedicated for as long as we've been growing lupins, which is 40 odd years, about how can we bring these for people to be able to eat them, because there's got to be a better way than eating the sheep or the cow to be able to get the benefit of lupins. Why can't we eat lupins?
Just in the chat room, and we'll keep talking, who's had lupins? I'm assuming it's something we're eating now, or be it through your baking goods. So I want to know what people know about lupins. So keep going.
Well, I guess the other thing is, what is a lupin? And a lupin is a legume that is naturally gluten-free. It is high in protein, high in fiber, low in carbohydrates. And it is like, oh, it's this little gem of goodness. Like it's so exciting about, it's a prebiotic. It's great for diabetics. It's just got so much goodness about it. It excites me when I talk about lupins. So,
do I see that on the supermarket shelf in the City Slicker? Is it commercially available?
There are more people that are doing things with lupins. It is growing, so watch this space. But yeah, there's a lot of there's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 of us that I know within Australia that are actively doing work on lupins, that are producers of lupins. So there are also other companies that are using lupin. They're buying it from the producers and using it. So it is a growing ingredient in food, specifically around low carb, gluten-free, diabetic sort of type food. So not in the mainstream food. So the thing is that with, you know, gluten-free food and keto, like low carb type food, it's different to your standard light, fluffy, delicious gluten food. So it's suited for people who are wanting to improve their health and the nutrition of the food that they're eating, but that's not for everybody. So it is a market that is growing, and it's going to grow more and more. But the other thing is that there is a specific lupins that are suited for human consumption, and the majority of lupins that are grown are not that type of lupin. So there is an element in lupin called alkaloid, which is the bitterness of the lupin. And if we as humans consume too much of the alkaloid, then it can cause renal failure. So, so there needs to be checks on that alkaloid level, and there are specific varieties that we grow that consistently come in underneath of that that threshold that we need. So
is that what you're using in My Provincial Kitchen?
Yeah, so we used to only grow those, but with the expansion of our farming and yeah, you know, like changing things up a bit in our farming practices, we have started growing different varieties as well, but they go straight to town, are delivered into town to be sold to grain purchasers, whereas everything that we grow that is suitable for human consumption, we store on farm. We have on-farm storage. So yeah, so it goes there. So with Robert sort of going off and doing all the experimenting and the research and all of that sort of stuff, you know, we had a couple of bad seasons, and we couldn't put a lot more money into that research and that travel and that all of that work. So we had to sort of put a lid on it. And I said to him, why don't we bring it home back to Australia and bring to the market here in Australia this product? Because being a farmer, we want to be able to grow the food and then manufacture it and then sell it as an ingredient. We don't want to have to do that work of blending it and creating a product to sell retail. We want to sell wholesale. So we spent a couple of years talking to manufacturers about lupin. Look how great it is, all of the health benefits, all of the nutrition benefits, and every single one of them said, great, but it's an allergen, but it's also nobody knows about lupin, and we don't want to spend the time and the money to educate people. So when there is a market, yeah, come back and visit us, we'll be interested, but until then, go find somebody else. And so we sort of got fed up with hearing that, and with Robert being as dedicated as he is, and then me going, well, let's bring this, let's create a market, let's teach people. And who better to teach people than us, the people who grow it, who get as excited as we do about it. You know, like we can answer all the questions. If we can't, we get our nutritionist or our, you know, whoever involved to help us out with those things. So yeah, so My Provincial Kitchen was born through the whole, we can't afford to do that, so let's do this. Let's educate people. Let's really create a food that's yummy, that helps people who have dietary requirements, who a lot of gluten-free food is full of highly processed white flours and white sugar, and there's no nutrition in it, or it tastes like cardboard, or it's just so full of sugar. So let's create something that's good for people, that's healthy, that's yummy, that's really easy to use. So because the other thing is that other farmers have done stuff with lupin in a flour in the past, and it's never taken off. It's been done so many times over the last 30 years, and nobody has been successful with it because it's farmers that are involved. And like I said, we want to grow it, we want to manufacture it, and then we want to sell it wholesale. We don't want to have to deal with customers.
So Tanya, are you actually producing cooked goods through the kitchen?
No, so what we do is we create what we call bake at home kits. So they're essentially a packet cake. So we have a wholemeal flour, which is our base ingredient, and then we have a self-raising flour, so which is a gluten-free self-raising flour, which is blended with other flours and starches to be able to do a one-for-one swap for any wheat flour. Then we have a Anzac biscuit mix, a lupin brownie, a savoury muffin mix, a pancake mix, and a raspberry white chocolate loaf. So they're our base, our first sort of line of products that we have that we've come to market with.
And with COVID happening and people, you know, doing so much more in their kitchen, how's that like? Has your business grown crazy?
So, which is wonderful, but it's also hard because I'm a one woman, you know, business sort of thing. It's me and me and me. So I've got a lot of work that I've got to catch up on for the farm that I've not been doing because I've been concentrating on my provincial kitchen, because our sales literally have gone absolutely through the roof, which is fantastic because everybody is, you know, getting exposure to lupin and to our products. So, you know.
So have you been so busy then, especially in the last few weeks, where a lot of us may not be as busy? How have you ensured that you've kept on filling those 3 cups? How do you still fit it in?
That's a very interesting one, because it was a couple of weeks ago I actually experienced some vertigo again. And instead of 4 months this time, it was 48 hours. And it was, okay, I need to listen to this. Everything, nothing matters. I'm the only one that matters. Everything can wait. Lay in bed for 2 days. Cool. You know, I first, you know, I woke up and I went, oh no, here we go again. Cool. Okay. What do I need to do? So, you know, okay, I need to have a kinesiology session, or maybe it's a Bowen, or maybe it's a chiropractor. And then I just went, how about if I just go to sleep? And literally went to sleep through meditation, through some, you know, literally just surrendering and just letting everything go, and bounced back really well. So I have some wonderful women's circles that I'm groups of part of online, and having that has saved me, because it's literally just, okay, this is what's happening, and then having that reflection back of, okay, what is it that you need, or what, you know, blah blah blah. Women sort of supporting and helping me, asking, what is it that you need, what do you need to do, what space, how do you do that? So it's that connection with other women to be able to, yeah, you know, come back, and remembering that nothing actually matters. Nothing matters other than me, because if I'm not right, I can't do everything else that I need to do.
I asked a question, sorry Louise, just to break in. Tanya, have you always been self-aware and reflective? And so that's question 1. And then where did you learn those strategies? And then when did you reach out for help with other and connect with other women? So it's sort of 3 questions.
So, and I don't like talking about this too much, because this is like woo-woo stuff, you know, this is, and I feel very vulnerable talking about it. But with being diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and it literally, you know, like I would go to town, pick up my kids, and I would come home with the groceries and I would lay on the floor because I had no energy to look after them. And, you know, I was down to 50 kilos. I couldn't cook a meal. And for me, that was heart shattering. Like, just, I could not, it meant that I was worthless because I couldn't look after my family. So with the diagnosis of Crohn's disease, it gave me that space to completely reassess my life, completely reassess what it is that I was doing. And it all sort of came about by, I went and saw a lady about having an intuitive massage. And I needed to make a decision about whether we were going to buy a business or not. And I thought, oh, I'll go and have an intuitive massage and she'll tell me whether we buy this business or not. And I was like, so I went to this massage, and at the end of it, she says, we're doing we're having a women's circle retreat over a weekend. And here's the flyer. Would you be interested? And I went, oh, this means it's all local people, and it means that people would see me in my truth, and they would see how fake I was. They would see how much that I was crumbling on the inside, and they would see how useless I felt about myself. I don't know if I can show that to people. But I went, and it changed my life totally. So from there, I have gone and still do go on the whole spiritual journey of self-discovery, and absolutely love it. Like, it is one of those things that fills my cup.
A little bit more about that. Like, what does that look like?
Sorry, Louise, you broke up at the beginning.
The intuitive massage, what does that look like?
Well, it was literally just a massage.
Right.
But the lady who was doing it, I don't know how to say these things. Like, you know, she connects to spirit, to people have passed, you know, that type of thing. And so what it was is reassuring me and making sure that I knew that I was supported, to make me understand and see that I am surrounded by beautiful spirit and my ancestors, and yeah, that sort of thing. So it yeah, that's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that, so that's great you've clarified that. I'm really curious, how's this all impacted your family now? So it's 2020, you know, your business has been going, the farm's going, yeah, how do your kids feel? Husband?
Yeah, well, I guess it's, and I had this conversation actually with one of my women's circles not that long ago. And I said, it's really funny, the whole process of me on my self-discovery, it's like my kids have gone, oh, yay, she's, you know, she's caught up and she's, we can work with her now. You know, it's almost like my kids were sort of just waiting for me to realize that life does not have to be like it was. So life is absolutely magnificent in absolutely every single moment. Even in the vertigo moment, even in the tractor breaking down moment, I see glory and beauty absolutely everywhere, and every situation, positive or negative, is a gift. So my kids have a lot more freedom because I have a lot more freedom, and my husband has a lot more freedom. I have disconnected from that codependency of my husband as well as with my children, because I had it on both parts. So we are all individuals merging and working together, growing and moving forward.
Right, there's a few parents on the call that's a great message. Hey, Cynthia, have we got any questions that are coming through that that we should be asking Tanya?
Definitely ask some questions, everyone. Liz just said a question for all of us to think about is, how do we make this woo-woo stuff? And then a few people said, don't call it woo-woo because it's like totally legit, and it's not woo-woo at all. It's like, this is a legitimate part of health and well-being in our lives. But how do we make it more acceptable and not feel a sense of shame about it?
I am discovering that the more I talk about it, the more I find those safe spaces to talk about it and actually step up and be me fully me, is making me more accepting of it. And with that, just doing that, that creates change. Because if I'm open to it, then someone else is open to it, and someone else is open to it. It is just that wave that just keeps moving on.
Yep. So agree. And Liz has just said, love it. Having the courage to be yourself. and Tanya, I was really interested before, right back at the beginning, when you said like you stepped into your own power. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, it's all part of the whole, self-discovery journey. But I can remember sitting, like being in the hospital, and the doctor going, I'm terribly sorry to have to tell you, you have Crohn's disease. I wish it could be ulcerative colitis because Crohn's disease is the worst. And I'll go, great, thank you so much. And it wasn't the fact that it was a diagnosis. I felt in that moment of being told I have Crohn's disease, I literally felt as though I could not control it, but I could take that and I could go, okay, I can make of it whatever it is that I choose. And I have had nothing but an awesome life since. So many people with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis have to have parts of their bowel removed. They live in pain. They suffer. And my doctors are dumbfounded at the fact that I've not had a recurrence, that I do not have pain, that I have bowel movements easily and properly, and nothing is a problem. It's a combination of mindset as well as food, as well as just its consciousness in total. Because I can go to the fridge and go, oh, I'm going to eat that. And I feel my body go, no, you're not. I feel my body reject that. And so I go, oh, okay, no, I'm not going to, but I really want to eat that. But my body's going, no, you're not going to eat that. So then I find something else to eat instead. So it's that surrendering to everything and starting to pick back the little bits and pieces that you actually really do want and go, yeah, this is what I do. This is how I do it. And this is me. And I don't like the word control because we have control of nothing. But it's me being able to direct my life. And it's me being able to maneuver and go where it is that I want and do whatever it is that I want. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, actually.
It just sounds like it was a really just a transformative moment.
Yep.
Which, some of us have transformative moments in a more sort of gradual awakening.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there was some of that for you, but it also sounds like it was a real... It
clicked. It was that light bulb, boom.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you are in charge of your own destiny.
Like a switch gets flicked in your brain and you suddenly are operating out of a new paradigm, a new way of seeing the world.
Yeah.
Your worldview has changed in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Dr. Tanya, there's a question here. Do you reckon lupins, this is from Louise Scott, do you reckon lupins would be useful for thyroid-related autoimmune conditions?
Lupins is fabulous for everything except if you're allergic to them. So with it being a prebiotic, it's great for our gut. So any autoimmune diseases, anything you can do to flourish your gut flora and to get that healthy is fabulous. I think it's improving that gut health is the key to everything, key to absolutely everything.
Can I just say, I don't know if you've noticed, I've embraced my grey. I finally got to the hairdresser on Monday, and I've had a really itchy scalp, and my hairdresser said, well, it's nothing to do with your hair or colour. I've only got a little bit of it now. It's your gut.
Yep.
You've got to go and see a a naturopath, which I've organised. So, yep.
Yeah.
That's so powerful.
Questions,
Louise,
Cynthia? Jeanette had a question. Jeanette Severs. Hi, Jeanette. Being in a rural community, Tanya, do you find you have to take more responsibility for your health and health conditions, especially when the specialist might be over 100 kilometres away?
Yes, totally, because nobody, absolutely nobody, doctors, specialists, dentists, nurses, naturopaths, nobody can tell us what our body needs better than our body. So, you know, like, it is connecting back and understanding your body and listening to your body is the most important thing in life, because it tells us everything that it needs. We just need to listen to it. We need to be able to create that space to be able to listen to it. And whether that space be washing the dishes and remembering to breathe, going and visiting the chickens, breathing while you put your shoes on, whatever it may happen to be. Nobody, relying on somebody else to fix us takes away our power. And a lot of people have said to me is like, you know, getting that diagnosis is, you know, and getting your power back. And it was the fact that the doctor told me something and I went, okay, I can fix this. I don't need anybody else. In that moment, I knew that nobody else could fix me. I was the one that could fix me, only me. And those doctors are very important and they're very helpful, but they can't tell you what your body can tell you.
Yeah. My mum had ovarian cancer, and they said that, you know, you can have the treatment, and we could say, well, I might have 10 patients and 4 of them will die within, you know, a year or two, but we cannot say how Anne Marnie will respond to that treatment. That,
yeah,
you know, you are you, and so you are an absolute individual, and so we cannot predict what will go on for you personally.
Yeah.
And I love, you know, Tanya, I love this conversation because we haven't had it before, Louise, this conversation. So loving it, the physical and also the spiritual, and not just the spiritual, but different ways of looking at our health. But the medical model is one way, the traditional medical model, and then there's been wise women and wise people around for a long time, and we're finding now that a lot of the wisdom that these people have had are not woo-woo. They're actually really legitimate ways of dealing with our health and well-being. So I just think it's terrific we've got alternatives out there.
Oh, definitely. And there's no way in the world that I would ever say that traditional Western medicine is no good or is of no use. It certainly is. I feel very sad when I see people hand over their power. I have a diagnosis, and so how can you fix me? Because that's not what it's about. Having a diagnosis gives you back that power to be able to go, okay, I can fix me, and I need help from this person, that person, somebody else. I need to create a tribe around me to be able to do what it is that I need to do to fix myself. Well, but essentially the thing is that we're not broken. Nobody needs fixing. We are how we are. It's just that we knew differently before to how we know now, or we know differently now to how we did before. You know, like, I don't see myself as broken with having Crohn's disease. I see it as a benefit because it helps me understand the people that we are making food for. I understand somebody who can't eat gluten because I can't consume dairy, you know, and I limit my gluten, and I can't consume a lot of fruit, and I can't consume a lot of nuts. And I understand, and I have empathy for those people. So it helps me in my business to be able to understand people with dietary requirements by having Crohn's disease.
I'm about to ask you for your powerful 3 kind of tips to leave us with. I've got a feeling you've already told us it, so you may reinforce it. But before, Cynthia, Any other questions you want to
Yeah,
ask Tanya?
Cass had a good question, or Catherine. Could you please explain what you mean, or just elaborate a bit on what you mean by disconnect from your children and husband? Obviously, you mean this was a positive experience for you and them, but I would love to know more.
So I was in a relationship with them that I needed them to be okay for me to be okay. So I needed to please them, and I did not matter. I was not important. So I was always put behind them. They were always, my husband and my children were always more important than myself and more important than anything. And what they thought mattered. Whereas it's still of interest and it's still accepted. But if they think something of me or of what I do or how I act, it doesn't actually matter. And it's the same with the whole world. What somebody else thinks about me does not matter, because they are not in my world. They are not in my life, in my body, experiencing my life. So I was dependent on their happiness for me to be happy. Now I need me to be happy, and I know they will be happy.
Oh.
So hit us with your top 3 powerful
Top 3.
tips.
Okay.
We're all going to write them down.
Take time, whatever that may happen to be. 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours. Take the time, make the space, because it's important. You matter more than anything else in the whole wide world. You matter. Because if you're not right, there is nobody else that can be right. You can't love somebody else before you love yourself. You can't fix something for anybody else unless you fix it for yourself first. I love life. Just love it. Like, get out there and live it. Don't hold back. Just do life. Because we've got one chance in this body, in this time, on this earth. We have one chance. So take it.
Thank you, Tanya. They're 3 simple yet very powerful tips for us. I just want to see in the chat box, what those still with us, what are you going to do? Based on what you've heard Tanya share with us, what's your take out? What might you do? Not maybe right now, but what's your takeaway? Because this is the important piece why we do what Cynthia and I are doing, is so that we're tapping into people's wisdom and sharing their well-being wealth of information. So it's really important that you commit to doing something and sharing it with us. Are you seeing anything, Cynthia? Has anyone already?
So Nosh says, I matter. Totally Nosh. Belle says, how do you find these amazingly awesome women? Cynthia and Louise. Well, I want to say, Belle, they're you. These amazingly awesome women are every woman. Everyone has their own terrifically powerful story. So we're not finding them. We're like just tapping into our network of women who all have this amazing thing to offer. So yeah, and so keep telling your stories, everyone. Virginia, thanks, Tanya. Sarah, I'm learning to say no and putting my passions first. I love Sarah. Sewing and rock and roll dancing. Sarah goes rock and roll dancing with her husband every week, or she did before the restrictions were in.
Awesome.
Louise is going to investigate gut health more and order some things from you, Tanya. And
thank you.
Amber's takeout was, I can't give anyone something I don't have. Catherine says, take the time to make the change and live my life for me. Yeah, terrific. So on that note, where are we? We're 2:01. So we are going to stop official recording now, and then we'll hang around. Tanya, are you able to hang around for just a little bit longer?
Yep, all cool.
More of a chat, great. So everyone, I would just like to say what a privilege it has been And Amber said that went too fast. I totally agree. With all of our speakers, we only seem to scratch the surface and we could go so much deeper. But Tanya, I want to just thank you so much for being so authentic, so honest and vulnerable, and enabling this network of people to tap into your wisdom and experience and courage and open up another different conversation that was really important around physical health, but also some of that spiritual wisdom as well, and different practices that we can all use to look after our well-being. And I think that there's a lot of interest in the different ways that we can look after our well-being. So I'd just like to thank you so much for opening that up to this group.
Can I just thank Meta,
Yes.
who is in my circle, which is now a Venn diagram, because we got into the circle that you're involved in, Tanya. So that's great. And now we've got a new circle.
No, thank you so much for having the opportunity to come on and talk and share. Like, I love talking about this stuff. I love sharing. I love being able to empower rural and regional women. Like, that's something that, yeah, lights me up.
And again, like we say in all of our sessions, we need to be hearing these stories at our ag and rural and regional conferences. And imagine how much more valuable our conversations and deeper and richer and more useful our conversations would be if we were incorporating some of this stuff into our more traditional conferences. I really want to change the way that we do things. So let's do something about that, gang. I just think we need to tell these stories, get these stories out there. So I am going to thank you. Next week we have, speaking of physical well-being, we have another amazing guest next week, and I'm having a mentor.
Is it Joy?
We're having Joy McClintock from Off the Track Training, and Joy is based on a station up north and has been running her own virtual training business for years and years. So a lot of gyms went online during COVID, but Joy's been doing it for ages because of her of where she lives, and she's been working with clients. She's amazingly energetic. She's got a lot of great wisdom to share, and particularly from that looking after your physical well-being in a different way to what Tanya.
Oh, that type of training.
Yeah, that type of training, okay. That type of physical personal training.
Let's wear our leisure lycra wear next Wednesday.
Oh, bit of fluoro, activewear next week. So we'll really look forward to chatting with Joy, and we'll see you back here, same time, same Zoom, and we'll pause now, but hang around if you can. See you, everyone, and thanks.